What I think here are about 6 or 7 of the biggest issues that we're going to be grappling with in the next 3 months and really the next 3 years. Some of the biggest issues on the horizon. This won't necessarily be all of them, but these are the ones that I think have the largest dollar signs attached to them that we're going to have to contend with. So that said, the city's budget in the current fiscal year is about $658 million. That's the city's operating budget. Now, there are a lot of other things that the city does. We have sewer funds that are very large, stormwater funds that are quite large, MATA that's kind of off to the side. But this is really the meat of what the budget is. This is when you think about what the city does. It's called the general fund budget. And again, $658 million this year, quite a lot of money, and it's been growing, as you might imagine, year in and year out for decades. The thing about the budget that I think is most important to understand at the get-go is that the two single biggest parts of the budget are police and fire. Together, police and fire account for almost 3/4 of that budget. Then there are about, I have this little eye chart here that has all of the other divisions. The bigger ones, sort of on the next tier down from that, are things like public works, for instance, is substantial. Things like our library system and our parks and our community centers. But again, right out of the gate, when you think about the budget, the biggest thing that we do and the thing that moves the needle the most in one direction or the other, police and fire. My little department doesn't even give up to 1%. But that's, and as you undoubtedly are aware, public safety, especially our police, is a big issue. We've been talking a lot about crime, and I know that affects everybody in this room, and our police budget is over $250 million, and bringing on and expanding the size of the police force is the single most expensive proposition that there is out there. So when we think about reducing crime, we have to really spend our money wisely there. So it's, again, a minute on the size of the budget, where the big pieces are. But what I'm going to do now for the rest of my talk is to rattle off about 6 or 7 individual things that are on the horizon that are really big deals that we have to contend with, so that we can try and keep our taxes as low as we possibly can. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's important, although I think all of you intuitively know why it's important. But anyway, and a lot of these things are items that you've heard a lot about. I'm going to talk about our pension obligations. I'm going to talk about our retiree health care obligations. I'm going to briefly touch on debt and some infrastructure issues. Like I said a second ago, public safety. And then I'm going to finish with just a little bit of an overview on taxes and economic development. So does that sound like a pretty good set of things to discuss? Okay. All right. Pension. You've heard a lot about this probably over the last couple of years. The city of Memphis was not alone when we had our recession back in 2008, 2009. Our pension fund, along with every other pension fund in the country, took a very substantial hit. It was on the order of $600 million. A lot of money. Today, our pension fund is underwater, if you will. We have a deficit of $418 million that we've got to catch up on. We need to catch up on that amount of money so that over the next 30, 40, and 50 years, we have enough money in that pension fund to pay out all of the obligations that we have made today. A couple of years ago, back in 2014, the city was putting $20 million a year into that pension fund. $20 million a year. That sounds like quite a lot. It is. What happened as a result of the recession, we lost all of that money through investments and just the general meltdown of the economy. And we have had to increase the amount of money we are putting into the pension plan every year. And this has put quite a strain. What we did back in 2014, I think the exact number was right around $18 million. This year, we're going to put in $50 million. So in a budget that's about $650 million in total, you can imagine taking $30 million out of all of these other areas and put it towards pension has been quite painful. And we're not done. The pension plan in 2017, the contribution that we are going to have to make, want to make, is approaching $60 million, about $58.5 million. And it's going to put more pressure on our budget in 2017, 2018, and beyond. Not to discourage you too much, but the amount of money that we have to put into our pension is not only a function of how much we have to pay out to retirees down the road, but if the market isn't doing very well, our pension fund, in order to work properly, has to earn a certain amount. And those earnings accumulate in the pension plan, and then they become available to us 10, 20, 30 years down the road to pay out to our retirees. In order for the system to work well, we have to have an average return of about 7.5%. And if you've been listening to the news lately, returns have been very low. In fact, our pension fund in calendar 2015, the year that just ended, earned 0.19%. Yes. And I will tell you that put us probably in the top quartile or decile of pension funds. That is actually a very good return. Markets have been down. So I say that to tell you that as we have been growing this contribution to the pension plan, think back again, just 2014, we're putting $18 million a year. This year, we're going to put in 50. Next year, we're going to have to put in 58. And if this market continues, that amount could probably jump another 10 million beyond that or more. So that is something that we have to keep an eye on. And under the law, this is not an option. This is, if we got real tight in your world, Robert, we might decide that, well, instead of cutting the grass every 2 weeks, let's cut it 3 weeks and save a few bucks. We don't want to do that, but I'm just saying there are some things that get a little, room to fudge on. On this, we don't. By law, we have got to do this and keep up with it. So as we look ahead, we have to be mindful that as we're making all of these other choices about what we want to do, we have this reality hanging out there that there's this very large and growing obligation that is going to have to be taken care of, no two ways about it. So, again, just a little bit of background. There's another component of retiree benefits that also is something that we have to be planning for and cognizant of, and that is retiree health care. Again, this is a subject that was all over the newspapers for the last couple of years because there have been cutbacks, but we still have a very considerable obligation before us despite the cutbacks that we make. A minute ago, I told you that our unfunded pension obligation was $418 million. And raise your hand if that sounds like a lot of money. Okay, you don't have to. I'm not done. Our still unfunded liability for our health care obligation is $730 million. So we have got quite a bit of work to go there. We have further to go, and we are going to have, in the years ahead, probably 18, 19, 20, over the next 5 or 6 years, we're probably going to have to increase our annual spending just on that item on the order of as much as $25 million a year. So let me stop back and just reflect for a minute. You've got, as we look ahead and your council representatives up here ponder the budget and all of the things that we've got to do, they have to keep in mind that there are these obligations out there. Now, these are not unique to Memphis. This is something that happens across the country, across the board, and the bottom fell out of markets, and everybody's struggling to recover. Nobody did anything bad, nobody did anything wrong, but we have to be realistic and we have to face them. So as we think about budgets, have mercy on your representatives. They are looking at some really tough choices, but so far, in my judgment, they have been doing a really great job of making tough decisions. On a similar thing, one of the other big issues that we will be dealing with, and we have dealt with in the last couple of years, is the health plan that we offer our employees. And I think that there is good news and bad news there. I think the bad news is that the plan that we have is sort of an old-fashioned plan. I'll characterize it as that. It's a little bit expensive. The good news is that I think in the coming year or two, we have an opportunity to streamline and modernize our healthcare plans in ways that I hope and I believe will be both less expensive and also better for employees, so that they are put in positions where they have skin in the game and they're making better health choices for themselves. It's going to be complex, it's going to be a big issue, but I'll sort of leave it at that. It's just it's a major line item in our budget, and it's something that we're going to have to evolve through for the next couple of years. Debt, as I go through all of these highlights. The city of Memphis has
Subsidies.
general
What it is.
obligation debt of $1.2 billion. Yes, billion, B. Now, again,
Percent of their premium.
that is, sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. And that is something where we also have to make a lot of hard decisions in the years ahead. Now, and we're going to have to be smart about where we spend our money and how we pay it back. The $1.2 billion, the good news is that for a city our size, believe it or not, that isn't out of line. It's kind of on the high side compared to other cities, but it's not completely out of line with what you would see. So $1.2 billion is a lot of money, but there are 655,000 of us to deal with it. So it's not as bad as it sounds. But there are some big things on the horizon. If you've been reading the papers, we know that one of the things that we've got to do in partnership with Shelby County and others is we have an aging public safety radio system. You know, you see police officers with their radios. We have one right here. I can tell you right now from recent experience that these things are really expensive. Anyway, we have an aging system. And the provider of that system, it's almost like, for all of you folks out there who are familiar with computers, it's like we're going to go from analog to digital. And what we have today is analog, and the companies are going to cease support of it in the next couple of years. So we have to upgrade our communication system, and it is for police, it's for fire, it's for, trying to think of everybody. If you see city trucks driving around in public works, inspectors, everybody has radios, and that's how we communicate. And over the next 3 years, we have got to completely rebuild that system so that by 2018, 2019, we have made that transition. There's still going to be a lot of discussion and debate about it, but I hope this number is on the high side, but just so you know, our share of it is going to be about $60 million. That order of magnitude. Yes. But again, we're a big city, big numbers. We can't be afraid of these. We just have to make good decisions, wise decisions, and try and make the best of it. We can't have our police officers in the middle of a crisis and get on the radio and not be able to reach the precinct or reach help and coordinate with the sheriff's department. So we're talking essential stuff. Another big thing is a lot of people are concerned, and you ought to be, about Memphis's public transportation system. In the last decade, I think it's fair to say that we have, for a million different reasons, severely underinvested in that. And our bus system is vital, especially to the most vulnerable among us, people who need to get on the bus to get to the job. One of the things that we hear most about connecting people who are trying to get out of poverty and get connected with a job is transportation. They may not own a car because they're just getting started with the job, and they need a bus, they need reliable bus service. We've underinvested because we went through a great recession. We're going to come out of that. But in order to do it right, we're going to have to start spending, this is capital spending, about $5 million a year to raise our transit system back up to where it needs to be, so that the people that rely on it can find a job and can keep a job because they can get there on time because the darn bus is on time. So, big deal. And then finally, the last big ticket item is a development that's now known as the South City development. And I'm not going to get into all of the details of that. I think council members could probably address that better. But it's a very, very big project. We're partnering with the federal government. The whole thing, I think, when public and private investment is all put together, you're going to have about a $250 million neighborhood development project. But the city has to come up with $30 million of that $250 million. So that's going to increase. Hopefully we'll have a really big payoff from that, but it's a big increase. So a lot of those biggies coming down. I'm going to touch on public safety for 1 second. We've been talking a lot about the need to get more police officers. There's going to be a lot of debate on that and how to do it. And all I will throw out there for you is that it is not inexpensive. And just not to say it's not worth it, it is just expensive.
Sure.
Judge Valerie Smith is about to leave. I forgot to recognize her. Please give her a hand for coming out and being with us on today. Would you like to say something right quick before we get back to the budget presentation?
Well, not a whole lot. I just wanted to come out and meet everybody that I could and understand the concerns that you all have here.
Amen.
I've just been appointed by the governor to Circuit Court Division 3. I have some very, very big shoes to fill, taking the place of the late D. Army Bailey, and just wanted to meet as many people as I could and understand your concerns for the community. Thank you.
And I'm sorry to interrupt your presentation, but do I have any other elected officials that are in the House so I can recognize you? I don't get him. We have County Commissioner Eddie Jones, who represents District 11. I try to make sure that in all our town hall meetings, we have someone from the county side, because we pay county taxes as well. We need to know how our dollars are being spent over there too. Thank you.
Okay. We almost need a little break when the finance guy is talking. It can get bad. But anyway, just to give you an idea, one of the